This is actually just reminds me, and sorry, Sophia, is because you're Australian, Auntie Donna sketch where it's like, you got to run for some pud or just a little pud.
Oh, just a little bit of pud.
So good. And this camera just like zooms into their face. Oh, just a little pud.
So I couldn't possibly.
I'm gonna have to look this up now.
It's so
Have
good.
you not seen a bit of
No,
pud?
I have to look it up. But there's so many
Oh.
weird like British stuff that I've been receiving because my partner is English.
Oh God, yeah.
It sounds like YouTube would recommend this to me if I watch enough weird British things. It would
100%.
start recommending me pud.
Yeah. This Auntie Donna, oh my gosh, so good.
The good follow-up to that one is definitely the filled up on cheese.
Yes. Oh, it was a long time ago, but I do remember.
I think can you give me a little bit more pud? Like it's like I'll just have a little sliver of pud. Oh no, maybe a bit more.
I don't got any more room.
Just a little. Oh, you can give me a bit more than that. That's not quite enough pud.
So good.
Cold open. That's a note for me.
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to Breakfast in Beauclair, a Global Witcher podcast. My name is Alyssa from Good Morn, and I'll be your host as you, I, and our international Hansa accompany Geralt of Rivia and his destiny Cyrilla of Sintra across the continent. I have been putting the reps in on that intro because next episode is episode 100 of Breakfast in Beauclair. I can't believe I've been saying that for so many episodes over the last 5.5 years. But it's true. Next episode will be episode 100. And as such, I would love to feature shoutouts for the podcast and our community, the Hansa, as the holds open for next episode. So if you have anything that you would like to share with our community, feel free to record it as either a voice note or a video and send it over to me at greetings@breakfastinbeauclair.com. Really looking forward to celebrating 100 with all of you. Thank you to our patrons and our producer-level patrons, Katie the Redhead of Toussaint, Jacob B., Charlotte from Edinburgh Glamorai, The Original Roach, Libby, John and Viblia, Tom from Australia, Jill Kate the Tabby Witch, Ollie from Sweden, James Carson III, Miriam of Temeria, Softy, Lisa C., and Red Kite. If you'd like to learn more about supporting Breakfast in Beauclair, visit patreon.com/breakfastinbeauclair. As for this episode, Christian from South Africa and Canada and Sophia from Australia call in for Andrew Sikovsky's Baptism of Fire, Chapter 4, Part 1. Join us as we discuss how character beliefs contribute to world building, the objectively worst 24 hours, Sikovsky's favorite foreshadowing tactics, human susceptibility to superstition and the danger of contradicting it, the role of religion in this chapter, swan-like necks, Southern Hemisphere Christmases, Geralt's voicemail, and a thrilling guest reveal. Without further ado, let's get to our discussion of Andrew Sikovsky's Baptism of Fire, Chapter 4, Part 1. Hey guys, welcome to Breakfast in Beauclair. My name is Alyssa, and today we're welcoming two members of our Hansa to the show. You'll recognize my first guest from their appearance on episodes 21 and 22 of Breakfast in Beauclair, covering Netflix's The Witcher, episode 104 of Banquets, Bastards, and Burials. While originally from South Africa, they currently reside in Canada, where they enjoy coffee, garden work, D&D, and all things fantasy. My second guest hails from Adelaide, Australia, and is currently working on a fantasy novel while indulging in text-based roleplay on Discord. Please welcome Christian from South Africa and Canada and Sophia from Australia. Hi, guys.
Hey, Alyssa.
Yeah, it is so lovely to have you both on. Christian, it's so nice to see you again, and I'm excited to catch up with you.
Yes.
But before we return to you, Sophia, I would love to hear from you. Welcome to the show. It's your first time on. And would you be so kind as to tell our lovely audience about how you got into The Witcher?
Yeah, I am a Netflix heathen. My first encounter with the show was like when it had probably been up on Netflix for about a month, and like people have been talking about it, and my boyfriend at the time, he was like, hey, I think you would enjoy this. Let's watch it. And yeah, I was really into it. And I have always been a fantasy person, like ever since the Tamora Pierce novels, starting with like Song of the Lioness, fantastic stuff. And like ever since then, I have just been like really into a lot of different fantasy stuff, and that has translated into me wanting to write it a fair bit as well.
Oh, amazing. What can you tell us about either the novel you're working on or just the process of writing for fantasy specifically?
So I have what is known as the trunk novel. It is the thing that you did finish, but like it will never see the light of day because like you were experimenting and figuring things out, and it's not reflective of anything that you really end up wanting to do. Like there are bits that I will cannibalize into like something that I will do going forward, but like it is proof that my ADHD brain was able to actually complete something, which, you know, is what you really, really want. Points of like interest that I have, which go into this episode actually, is people's beliefs and religion, how that impacts the way people see the world and like different communities as well. So I had a stage where I was tossing up whether I was going to do everyone is human or if I wanted to go into elves and dwarves and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I ultimately decided, yes, I want to go with elves and dwarves purely because, and this is a stupid reason, but it's also like you got to follow what interests you. I had these ideas about like there being like a lot of culturally important stuff around hair and beards for the dwarves, and like the women grow beards, and it's like a traditionalist thing is like for a woman to have like a lovely full beard and like, you know, just braiding it and doing like all these things. It's like, and these modern younger girls are coming out and they're shaving their beards and trying to look like they're human or elves.
Oh my God.
Like, they're just completely ignoring our culture. This is so important to us. How could they? Sort of thing. And that's like just something I wanted to go down, that sort of thing, and just have that. It's not even going to end up being a major thing, but it's just something in the background for it to be like, this is the great controversy of their time.
Yeah.
Whether or not the women have beards.
That's amazing.
I feel like that would be such a fun thing to like role play and improv in like a D&D sort of setting.
Yeah, just like, you know, having your like great aunt Magdalene, and she is very disapproving of the fact that, you know, her great niece is going out without her beard on, and she's also unveiled. Like, we have very sensitive skin among the dwarves. Like, you are going to get freckles. Like your beautiful skin, and you had such a lovely beard.
It's something so small but so powerful. I fully understand it already.
Like a really good beard, yeah.
And part of the fun of that is also that like my grandma hated beards as well, so like that, okay. I can also just look at that and like, so my brother and my cousins both have like full beards, and she hated it. I was like, I cannot see your face. So it's like just a reverse of that as well. So yeah, that's just...
Okay, hard note that writing fantasy novels is probably cheaper than going to therapy.
Yes.
I will say one more thing. I have not read past the end of this chapter.
In any of the Witcher novels?
No.
Oh my God. Okay, that's so exciting. I haven't had fresh meat in so long.
Because we were doing the book club in the Discord, and then we like that got waylaid a little bit. I think everyone got very busy.
Off. Yeah, my life fell
that's
apart.
All right. So initially I was going to be reading along with that, but then we stopped, so we have actually made it. So I am a clean slate for everything that happens in future.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
I'm envious.
I did not tell you until we were recording, purely because I wanted you guys to react to that live.
Yeah. Oh my God, there's so much stuff that happens in this that now I'm like,
okay, wait, let me just erase all my comments quickly.
Spoiler. I'm in the Discord. Like, I am firmly of the belief in a lot of ways that like a good story cannot be spoiled by a spoiler. Mm-hmm. If something is ruined by a spoiler, it was not really that good to begin with, because if all you've got in there is the shock of it, it's no good.
Checks out.
Okay, noted. I'm so excited though. There are so many comments and metaphors and sly spoilers I want to put in here for people who know what comes next.
And for me to just be like, la 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 la.
Yeah. Oh no, it's there's something very meta about the conversation that we're having, and I think the purity of what you haven't experienced based on this chapter.
Yeah.
Virgins and all that. We'll get to it. Okay, I'm so excited. Yay. Christian, when we get over to you, episode 21 and 22. I have not seen you since then on the podcast. That blew my mind when I was looking that up.
You wouldn't have me. I just don't know what else to say. Maybe my impression wasn't so great on the first episode.
You sound so scorned. Oh my goodness.
It's been a very long time. Yeah.
Yeah. I know, we were saying, like, we're talking about just prior to recording, counting out our milestones in terms of your son's lifespans. And I think that your recording must have been at least a Henry ago.
Yeah, he's 2.5. He'll be 3 in April. So I guess, when did we record
I don't know.
that?
That's literally like 80 episodes ago. All of us just had a violent reaction.
Well, it goes back to what we were talking about as soon as everybody logged in. It was like getting old and our bodies failing.
The passage of time. Time is a flat circle.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yeah. Ouroboros and all that.
Talking also of the fact that, like, you know, the one thing that prevented, like, that killed people's podcasts in the pandemic was when people had jobs in healthcare. I think that also something that kills your ability to appear on podcasts is having a child.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you just have to be very strategic. It's not about just logging in and doing stuff.
Yeah, imagine living your life willy-nilly, spontaneously. What even?
How? I wouldn't even know where to begin.
We don't know her anymore.
Like analysis paralysis. It's like, I guess I'll just sit on the couch.
But what's been up since you were last on the show?
Wow. Couple of career changes. Henry's been an absolute miracle, a delight, truly. He's going through all these amazing things in his life just at 2.5 years old, just learning. Everything is crazy. He's very defiant at the moment, and like very loud. His personality is coming into being. His sense of self, is really anchoring. But we're also like expectant now. So our baby girl is coming at the end of the month.
Gasp.
So,
well, major congratulations to you and your wife.
Thank you.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
No less chaos coming your way, I imagine.
No. Why stop here?
Choo-choo. All aboard.
Yes. But still in Ottawa. I dabbled within coffee, dabbled within landscaping again. Currently looking for a career shift, but still keeping my fingers in all the pies, of my expertise. So I mean, those are the big things. I went to South Africa a bunch of times, which was really awesome. We were super, super fortunate. This will be Henry's first winter Christmas, which is quite crazy. Both Christmases we went to South Africa and we just had a blast in the summertime.
Oh, I know Sophia's winter Christmases. What's that?
Yeah.
Well, this is actually something I'd be interested to know. Does South Africa also insist on doing snow motifs at Christmas?
Oh, South Africa is lazy for Christmas motifs. It's just there's hardly any lights, Christmas lights up. You'll have one in every 10 houses on the street who maybe does lights. My mom's Christmas tree for the longest time that I can remember was a branch with little things on it, a dried branch, just straight up. And it's not that big because Sam is like my wife. She's like, oh, but Christmas board games and this. And I was like, I don't know. It's warm. I like Christmas time does not mean what it means for you.
So I think that because Australia is very into its English history, even though it doesn't want to talk about how it's into its English history, we still somehow end up with like fake snow and like
Really?
snowflake imagery and all of this stuff. And it's like, can we please have our own identity about this?
Can we get back to shrimps on the Barbie?
Yeah. Like Christmas just gone is it was 38 degrees, which in
Oh my God.
freedom units is 100 degrees, just
Yeah,
to be
nope.
clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's and yet my like I guess he's my cousin. It's my cousin's baby was like in a little like snowman costume. And it's like, no, what are we doing? Can we please like
Put him back in his board shorts. Come on.
I know.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I was going to ask. So I know Santa has board shorts in Australia.
Yeah.
Does that sit beside the snowman imagery?
You will also see like, you know, the Santa that you see at the like at the mall that you go sit on his knee and all of that is like the full like
Traditional.
snowsuit
Yeah.
traditional look, like, which was really funny because I was a surf lifesaver as a kid.
Okay.
Very, very Australian hobby. The like when we had the Christmas party at the club, like someone was in the like did not even do like board short Santa. They did fully like in my snow gear Santa, and I was just like, Trav, aren't you really hot? Like you can't be comfortable right now.
Yeah.
Mascot costumes.
And
man.
he was like, Sophia, don't call me Trav when I'm in the uniform.
Fully immersed.
we love a method actor.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, I'm glad
Yeah.
to hear that, hopefully things are going well with you, Christian. I'm glad that we're sitting
Yes.
down to record after a number of
Mhm.
years.
As am I.
Yeah, and Sophia, really excited to hear what you bring to today's discussion, both as somebody who is interested in this subject matter and in the content of the chapter, but also, as we said, a fresh swan-like neck for us to invite into our discussion.
Sink our teeth into.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Just little nibbles.
That's how Piper sounds when she chews on things.
Oh, nice.
So today we will continue our discussion of Andrzej Sapkowski's Baptism of Fire with Chapter 4, in which villagers hunt a vampire, refugees reunite, and the company survives a trial only to fall into the wrong hands. Here's a quick synopsis of the chapter from future Alyssa. In Chapter 4 of Baptism of Fire, Geralt and his companions set off after their night at Regis's hut. They encounter a group of peasants hunting a supposed vampire, claiming recent murders were due to neglected prayers and church donations. When the peasants demand Milva's horse for their search, a fight ensues, but the company agrees to help take an injured man to a nearby refugee camp. At the camp, the group witnesses the harsh realities of war, with goods overpriced and exploitation rampant. The peasants seek compensation from Milva for their injured friend, but the situation escalates when they come across a mentally impaired woman accused of witchcraft and colluding with a vampire. The local priest, blaming women for the chaos of war, prepares to burn her at the stake. Geralt, Zoltan, and Milva step in, offering a trial by ordeal to defend her. The priest sets an impossible task: retrieve a burning horseshoe from the fire without injury. As the company debates what to do, Regis steps in and calmly completes the task, shocking everyone. Before the matter can be resolved, Nilfgaardian forces attack the camp. In the chaos, Geralt is knocked unconscious and the group is separated. Ciri, with the rats, has a vision of Geralt being trampled by horses and wakes screaming. Geralt regains consciousness to find himself captured by Temerian soldiers. He and Dandelion are taken to a military camp, where an old acquaintance secures their release. However, Marshal Visigurd, holding a personal grudge against Geralt for his past actions in Sintra, rearrests him, accusing him of selling Ciri to Nilfgaard. The chapter ends with Visigurd declaring that Geralt will be hanged. So now that we've gotten a synopsis on Chapter 4, I would love to hear from both of you what you thought of this chapter. What were some of your highlights, lowlights, overall thoughts?
So, as I said, subject matter of this chapter is extremely my shit. Because I was coming to this as like a new reader, when we put in for which chapters we wanted, like I looked at the little synopses that Alyssa put up and decided, okay, that sounds interesting, that sounds interesting, that sounds interesting. Put me in whichever one you need someone in, whatever works with my ridiculous time zone. And the outcome was, I was like, yes, we've got vampires, we've got weird religion, we've got just people getting very, very granular about stuff that doesn't make any sense. But like, yeah, my overall thought is that I was really, really pleased that this was the chapter that I got to do.
Oh, yay. I'm glad.
And I did want to go and have a look at the Witcher Wiki at like all of the different like kinds of vampires that do exist. But then I was like, I probably will come across spoilers if I do that. And like, while I'm not going to be super angry about a spoiler, I'm not trying to seek them out. I'm going you know, tube style on this. I want to try and keep myself clean. So, but just going into like, the idea that like there are fake versions of vampires that people believe exist. Like I like to know that a world feels more lived in if like, even if you've got really outlandish and like scary things in the world, there's also fake things that people believe in. And it makes the world feel really, really lived in, because like, if you've never seen a hippo before and one runs through your village, like, you're like, what the hell is that? Like, that is a terrifying thing. But like, you might also think that, you know, leviathans exist, but they don't. Like, it's just, yeah.
Well, if that thing exists, then I'm sure that other thing that he spoke about exists. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, we know that this thing exists, so what if this is also a thing? And like making it so that like not every single thing that could potentially exist in the realm of this world actually does. It's like when going back to Buffy, like just occasionally it's like they keep referencing that there's no such thing as leprechauns. Like all of these other things are real, but leprechauns are bullshit. So that was a real, like, as far as from a world building perspective, just a real highlight to me. The moment with, and I think that this has also been highlighted in the notes, just the little girl coming up and just parroting back everything that her auntie has said.
I love that section. It's so funny.
It's like just with the total guileless sort of things, like, you are not like this. You are not the worst things you've ever heard.
Yeah.
Out of this small child's mouth. Please have this bouquet of flowers, Auntie Maria.
Yeah. She's just like, you're not filthy burrowing little midgets. And then Zoltan turns around and he's just like, hey, you filthy burrowing little midget, give her something nice. I like that there's like a sense of, you know, obviously innocence and parroting, as you said, but there is like kind of humor, and the company is humored by it, which makes us, I think, the reader feel delighted by it. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a real difference, like having that happen compared to, like, say, the stuff that I had trouble with in the last book with Codringer and Fen, and like the descriptions of Fen were very upsetting. And it was like in the text rather than this as being something that someone is saying about him. Like it was like he's just being described as the midget, the cripple, and it's like, yeah, I know it was the 90s, but whew.
Yeah.
And like that also sitting from like the fact that I work in disability, I was like, yeah, some people are reclaiming the word cripple, but I don't think anyone's doing that with midget at this stage. Like that's not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely a much more lighthearted, I think, kind of context.
Yeah.
Given the child.
And like the difference between a character actually saying it and it being like, this is the omniscient dialogue sort of thing. Like, I think that really makes a difference in there.
Absolutely.
The only thing that I could really think of for a low light is, and like, whether this is because this is a statement that is being made or if it's just, this is the kind of religion that I know. Having a, like, what is clearly kind of like, this is a pastiche on the Catholic Church. And one of the things that has come up for me is just being like, when building religions, I don't want something to be a facsimile of something that's already happening. Like, you can use elements of, like, because there's only so many ways, like, if you're looking at religion as, in a lot of ways, a form of control over people, like, people get a lot out of it, but if you have a religion that has a leader, that it becomes about that leader. So, like, having that sort of thing in there, like, there were definitely some allusions to how the Catholic Church have conducted themselves in the past. But, like, I don't think of that as really being a low light, purely because, like, it is clearly Sapkowski is making a statement.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, those are my thoughts, I think.
Yeah. What about you, Christian?
I think overall thoughts, the book and the Witcher and the whole universe that it's created, all the books, there's that constant battle of morality, and the beautiful dichotomy of black and white and gray are in the same line. There's no differentiation. And it is very pertinent now in my life at this point, raising a 2.5-year-old who is constantly asking why, how, and is this the good guy? Is this the bad guy? It's crazy. In the stories that we read, he's like, "This a good guy?" I'm like, yeah, he's a good guy. Like, he's gonna hit him with his sword. I was like, yeah, but because, like, you can't just hit everybody with the sword.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. So I guess it just brought me into a different light. And again, this is what we spoke about in the beginning, like 80 episodes ago, I was a different human. Now it's more so like I see it within the light of this 2.5-year-old who's learning about the world, and just like everybody else is within the book, still learning about the world, and their own moralities. I think that was an overarching thing, which a Witcher comment in general.
Yeah.
The highlights, I guess, for me is the fact that, like, the craziest chapter in this book is when everybody's hungover.
I fucking love that opening. What a good opening for a chapter. It's so fucking funny.
Everybody's hungover, grumpy and sore and just tired and sick of shit. And then everything gets thrown at everybody at the same time. And I'm just like, it is Murphy's Law at its finest. It doesn't give a shit about your feelings, about your day. It's coming.
Until you said it that way, I completely forgot that, like, just the next 2 chapters covered 24 hours for this company, chapter 4 and chapter 5. And it's going to be 3 episodes of discussion for us, because I had to break chapter 5 into 2 separate episodes because so much stuff happens.
Wow.
And like, I'm getting my mind blown right now. What a horrible 24 hours.
Everybody's rubbing on mandrake juice from this, like, Regis's concoctions.
Oh my God. No. Hungover. They immediately get into a fight with peasants, and then they follow the peasants back to their camp. They stop, like, a freaking witch trial.
Yes.
And then they get immediately attacked by Nilfgaard and then captured and, like,
interrogated.
What a horrible 24 hours.
By the time we get to the camp, I had forgotten about the hangover. So, like, just thinking of that, they're describing the smell of the camp, and just think about how delicate you are when you are hungover and, like, approaching something that smells that bad and just be like, no. Like,
I mean, yeah, it's I guess just how it is, man. Whenever you decide to have a good night or, like, let loose, the next day is just bam, bam, bam.
God, no wonder they did what they did to the priest. Like, they are just so irritable and upset.
I think so. Like sometimes when I was in service industry and I'd like have a night out and like without like caring about whether I work the next day, I'd make bank the next day because I'm like so either flirtatious or I don't give a shit because I'm still in that semi state of like everything's great.
Yeah.
And then come 3 o'clock, I'm like done.
You're
But
just
yeah,
riding
no,
on a
like
high of
this.
false pretenses and
Yes, yes, yeah.
oh my
Um,
goodness.
I think the low light of this all is just a more of an introspective thing where it just reminds you of how everything is, like I said, it's not black and white, there's gray.
Yeah.
And it's not always comfortable living in that blissful naivety until you see what it can be, and everybody has two sides of a coin. I think that's just a little thing that I keep thinking of whenever I read Witcher or I consume Witcher knowledge.
Yeah.
Sapkowski did well in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, some of my highlights in this chapter, we talked about the little girls' goodbyes. We talked about the company having their hangover. There's a little thing about Regis says something about, oh, that guy must be thinking about like vagina dentata. And then Dandelion chimes in. He's like, he might be dreaming about that, but also maybe a regular toothless one. And it just, that always takes me out every time he says that. Because I think especially reading it in context, like it makes it seem like Dandelion misheard. But no, he didn't, which makes it even funnier as well.
Yeah, it's just like, no, I get you, but also he could just be the normal kind of horny. Yes.
And just generally unhinged and obsessed. Like,
Yeah.
I do like I think Regis brings another dynamic of the company. It's almost like how, from Cheers to Frasier, when they talk about how they developed the show Frasier, they took a neurotic character and instead of giving him like a straight man, they gave him an even more neurotic brother. And I feel like that's what Dandelion and Regis feel like. Somebody who's generally quite smart, and then you give somebody who's really annoyingly intelligent to the point of being a freaking thesaurus. And then you have Milva, who's kind of at the other end of the spectrum, where she's just like, I'm a child of the woods. And everybody else is kind of there. So I feel like Regis kind of rounds out the company really nicely. So it's kind
Yes.
of fun to, see him amongst the group.
I think it's that age-old thing that, especially when we're playing D&D together and like learning the characteristics and all the stuff. It's like Regis is high wisdom, high intelligence, and Dandelion is just high intelligence, no wisdom.
Wisdom was the dump stat.
Yes.
I think I would agree there as well.
Knowing what to say, but not when to say it.
Yeah, yep.
Or not having the things that it would be really funny if I say this, but I shouldn't.
Yeah.
But no filter, no impulse control at all.
But I shouldn't does not come in.
Yeah.
No. I mean, on the subject though of like the company and where they sit in, I think one of the things that really stood out to me on a reread of this chapter is that Geralt is consistently the voice of reason in every single situation they come across. When they're arguing with the peasants, when Milva's like, why do you need my horse? Geralt's like, I don't know, like, let's temper all of this a little bit. And then when they get to the like witch hunt, he again tries to kind of diffuse the situation. When they're arguing with the marshal, he's just kind of like trying to, again, get out of it or see what's going on. And then he's very cautious and pragmatic in this chapter in a way I'm just like, is this our guy?
Maybe he needs to be hungover in
Yeah.
a constant state.
Yeah, maybe the hangover is like, I really can't be bothered to do this right now. Can we not?
Yeah. I think he keeps telling people, like, just don't tell anybody I'm a witcher. I'm just trying to lay low. I just want to chill. I want to coast for
I
a
love
bit.
that, like elbowing them in like in the ribs. It's like, shut up.
Every time.
I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
Siri is having prophetic dreams about me. Like, I want to set a good example. I don't want to start a fight when she could just be like waking up from a dream about what I'm doing.
Oh my God. It's like turning on a live stream at the worst possible moment.
my gosh.
No context.
You caught me at a bad time.
That's Geralt's yearbook quote. You caught me at a bad time.
It's his voicemail. You
Yeah.
caught me at a bad time. Call me back.
I'll get Peter Kenny to record it.
Oh my God.
I'd really rather it if you text me. Like, I'm not going to check this. Like,
Oy vey. Yeah, our boy gets into the weirdest situations, most unfortunate situations, one after the other. So I can't really blame him for kind of wanting a bit of a timeout. At the same time, I had spoken on a previous episode about Baptism of Fire forward being kind of a reversal of everything Geralt has known and has experienced. And I think as readers, like, we've known that's kind of coming, but I feel like it really hits home here, where everything that he's doing is really the inverse of everything we've expected from him up until this point. Like, he's acting as a sensible one. Since when?
I know.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice because I think in and amongst all the chaos that is this chapter, we need a voice of reason. And insert
hey,
Geralt.
reference.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, yes. Here we go, Geralt. Your time to shine and be truly neutral.
Yeah, I think that there is a level on which, like, he's just I'm trying to put forth the energy of I'm a father now. Like, I have to set a good, like, it is really like, let's all be chill. Let's not get away with ourselves. Let's try to come to the most, like, sensible and least violent conclusion. And they're like, let's use our words, everybody. Let's all use our words. And it's just like, who are you?
Gentle parenting.
Christian, I think you laughed a little too hard. Is that hitting close to home when it comes to Henry?
Yes. Maybe I should be constantly hungover. Not parenting advice.
Put an asterisk on that in the footnotes.
Yeah, a big one.
Now, just because I'm not sure whether it's going to be a point to come up, just speaking of parenthood, I'm making the call now. Milva's knocked up, right?
What makes you say that?
It's just mostly like a woman vomits in anything. They mentioned, like, you know, obviously she's hungover. There's like, oh, she did also vomit the other morning, but maybe it was the mushroom. She's pregnant. Like, this is Writing 101, and you don't need to actually answer the question, but I just want to register that I've called it.
Okay, I'm just gonna
Very well.
chalk things up to women's sensibilities.
Yeah.
And just reiterate that we are again talking about Geralt,
Yes.
Dandelion, and Zoltan. Oh, my goodness.
But yeah, it was just one of those moments where it's just like such a, particularly a screenwriting thing. Like, if someone coughs, they will die by the end of the thing. And if a woman throws up, she is pregnant. Those are roughly the things that we can expect. It's like, as it's on the level of, like, if a gun appears in the first act, like.
Yeah, we're very familiar with Chekhov's guns and Sikovsky's. I don't know.
I don't know what his insert would be.
Yeah, what would Sikovsky's insert be? Sikovsky's, I think, sometimes less subtle. It's like, let me insert an entire flashback or flash forward about this thing that's going to be immediately relevant in the next section.
I think that's it. It's the item is not a gun or something. It is like this chapter.
Like, the thing that I said that made someone ask, what are you talking about, was I referred to, after we had seen the movie Heretic, Chekhov's big bit of wood with nails in it was what I had said had been introduced. And she was like, what? What does that mean? I was like, okay, Chekhov's gun.
I'm sure if we comb there, let me rephrase. There's going to be a lot of hints, I think, throughout this chapter.
Yeah.
A lot of prophecies, man. That's Sikovsky's thing. It's just like it's always with the prophecies.
And we're approaching the middle of the book as well, which is like where you really want to set up the stuff that's going to pay off later.
Yeah, the idea of later is very nebulous. Later is an abstract concept.
Maybe that's why this chapter is so heavy.
Yeah, this is like a hinging point.
Yeah, well, I think we're kind of in a good place to now that we've
Loosened up.
talked a lot about a great deal of things, including our overall thoughts and highlights and lowlights. It'd be a great time to get to our discussion questions. So, in the beginning of this chapter, a group of peasants hunts for a vampire on the order of a priest. What does this say about human susceptibility to superstition, particularly under inexplicable circumstances?
I think, if I may quickly, um,
Mhm.
I think their reaction is quite common. I think it's a very knee-jerk reaction to look for a certain scapegoat, especially within times of like disarray.
Mhm.
And especially for them, there's this like impeding doom that is Nilfgaard, and they don't know what it's going to mean for the rest of them. And as a peasant, kingdom doesn't always have time to look after every village. So I guess they just have to start fending for themselves, and they'll take any form of authority that
Yeah.
seems correct or seems commanding or seems like they know what they're talking about. So I think in terms of superstition, it is a very knee-jerk reaction to find the easiest, quickest scapegoat, especially when you're in duress.
Mhm.
Yeah, along those lines, it's also when you're in a situation like that, it is one of the things that people find really challenging is knowing that they have no control over a situation.
Yeah.
And if you can sort out whatever's going on by going on a vampire hunt and stopping this one thing, that is something that you can control. Like,
Mhm.
this is something that you can take into your own hands and it can be something you can solve. If there's literally nothing that you can solve, that is just horrifying.
That's
And
a,
we can't cope with it very well at all.
it's very well put. You need some sense of control
Yeah.
within the greater picture. Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be my point as well. Like that, the desire for control or for explanation. Like we think back to the Greco Roman gods, for example, and it's like, it's raining or we have a famine. There's nothing that we can tangibly do about it or nothing in our concrete understanding of agriculture and weather. Therefore, it must be the gods. Like the gods are angry. That's why we have famine. That's why we have flooding. But
Hmm.
I feel like those myths and by extension superstition, the idea that we're placating these mythological like beings, um, and that we're kind of like doing our part in like making sure that like the town doesn't go under. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's looking for, I think, as you both have said, both someone to blame and like feeling afraid of that lack of control.
Hmm. I think as a segue to, I'm doing my part, one thing that I've seen in times of unrest, whether they be strikes or where a minority is rising up against a majority, there's always that thing where if you're not for me, then you're against me immediately, even though we're brothers or
Mm.
neighbors or sisters or cousins or lovers. In that
All of the
sense, you
above.
have all of the above. It doesn't matter how close you are; it quickly becomes a choice of sides.
Yeah.
So some of these peasants might not be into this, like, or believing it at all. But once they're against that choice of, this is what we're going to do, then they could be deemed an alliance with evil.
And we see that, concretely, I think, later when they actually go to the witch hunt and the priest says directly to Geralt, Milva, and Zoltan, they're like, oh, well, if you're defending a woman who's suspected of being a witch, then you all must be in alliance with the vampire as well. And then it turns into kind of like a whole thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. And only then does the village elder or the village chief voice his kind of like agreement with
Yeah.
Geralt or his disagreement with the priest. So
Mhm.
yeah.
So, our next question, the priest plays a significant role in the trial by ordeal, using religious dogma to justify the persecution of the young woman accused of witchcraft. How does religion shape the actions of each character, from the priest to the Witcher's company?
One of the things that I did really appreciate in that witch trial scene, and this is going in a little bit into the next question as well, like the fact that not everyone is on board like there is a huge groundswell towards let's murder this woman because she is clearly the cause of all of our problems. But there are people like standing back and thinking, yeah, I don't really think this is real, but I also don't think that I can do anything to stop it.
Mhm, mhm.
Also, there's, I think, a certain level of entertainment.
Yes, yeah. But like, and even just having like the guy that's sort of in charge standing back and saying, okay, you need to convince me. Like, and in some ways, I think that maybe is not the best possible move because, like, you are allowing these people to be whipped into a frenzy and they are not going to be satisfied by the verdict being, yeah, I don't think that this is real.
Yeah.
They're going to, like, this is a situation where they basically are demanding blood.
Yeah.
And you can only have people like whip that up so far without that release coming in. So like while there are people around who are like, yeah, I'm not really sure, there are the people who are like, this is real, and there are also the people who are like, you know, it would be kind of fun to watch someone get burned alive. Like, I've not got much going on right now.
Yeah. I think I was just going to kind of add to what you guys said. I don't have much more to say except that it's entertainment, and you said that as well, Alyssa. In this time, in this crazy time, it's like I've got nothing else going on, and this, and that. I might as well just be here and be present. And if everybody's here, I might as well be here. So that's what we're going to do. Bring the family.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's like we don't have The Bachelor in this universe, so
Yeah.
watching someone get burned alive is probably the best entertainment we're going to get.
Yeah.
And you know, this is fine.
It's like when something bad's about to happen and taxes are about to increase back in like Roman times. So let's host a gladiator festival. Let's shed some blood, just distract everybody whilst everything else goes on that's not nice.
Lots of parallels to like our current
Yeah.
our current environment, but we'll bury the lead on that a little bit.
I wasn't going to make that one because it's a little too close. Yeah.
Really
Yeah,
close to
do it a
home.
bit too rough.
Yeah.
We are not hungover that I know of, but we are delicate right now.
Hey, look, we're here for escapism. That's why we get together. We read books.
Yeah, just don't look at the metaphors too closely. When it comes to the idea of like religion, and specifically again, like looking at religion in the context of the actions of each character, I think we've spoken about the priest. The priest, it does seem, uses religion as a pedestal from which to control everybody or to influence everybody, I should say. He uses religion to justify, like, well, obviously this woman is satanic, or in whatever words he uses. This woman is satanic. Women's wiles are satanic. This is the reason for the war. This is the reason everything's gone to shit, is because people aren't. I think he sent, from what I remember, he sent the peasants on a vampire hunt and said the vampire had brutalized its victims because they weren't paying their dues to the church. Like, that in and of itself is kind of like, you know, taking advantage of the situation and using religion to enforce, I think, both fear and allegiance in the meantime. On the other side of the coin, the Witcher's Company kind of talks a little bit about religion while they're on the other side of this trial by ordeal. At some point, Geralt says to Milva, I think it says Zoltan looks at Milva, Milva looks at Geralt when they're proposed with this trial by ordeal of pulling the horseshoe out of the fire. And they all look at each other being like, shit, I don't think we could do this. And Geralt looks at this guy and he's like, do you believe in gods? And Milva says, I do, but I don't think they can be bothered with us right now. They're probably fucking busy, son. And then they all kind of rile themselves up to prepare to take on this trial before Regis steps in. But I think in the context of this question, you see how this trial brings up their religious views. For Milva, she could be agnostic or whatever, where she believes in the gods, but not necessarily anything specific, and doesn't necessarily have a lot of faith, blind faith, that religion is going to save her or there's going to be some sort of
Mhm.
divine intervention. Geralt, on the other hand, and Zoltan sound like they're, gonna tough it out or planning on toughing it out on their own accord.
It's almost like Milva is going off on instinct and she's trying to follow because that's what she's had to do for survival. And the
Yeah.
boys are just going on like, well, if I put my hand in there, I'm gonna lose some skin, but I can do this, this, and that. Just
Yeah.
brawn my way through it.
Yeah.
Milva kind of like the vibe that I got was that Milva feels about the gods like I feel about aliens. In that, oh yeah, there's definitely something out there, but like I don't think that they're interested in what we're doing.
Yeah.
We are not alone in the universe. It would be egotistical for us to think that we are, but it's also very egotistical for us to think that they're just paying us visits and fucking with our cows. Like
Yeah.
that's also like you've got the two poles of like how
Interest, I feel like, or
obsessed
involvement.
we are
yeah.
in being like the most important thing in the universe. It's like, no, there's probably something out there and they either have the same capabilities of space travel as we do, or they're like, well, there's nothing really going on over there, so let's not be bothered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also makes me think of like bringing back to like the Greek gods and all of that sort of thing. Like we've done the wrong thing, the gods are angry, and now there's a famine. There's like a lot of the older religions, the idea was, yeah, you absolutely don't want to get the attention of the gods. Like the people who were like, yeah, Zeus is there and he's controlling the weather, where they weren't thinking about their personal relationship with Zeus. They were just thinking, I really hope that Zeus is not aware of me whatsoever, because that's going to go badly for me in every single story that we have.
Oh yeah. You're going to be impregnated by a swan, like something's, or like a cloud. Something's going to happen.
A shower of
you.
coins.
Yeah. Oops, pregnant.
So
If only it were
you
that
thought
easy.
that I could not get your daughter pregnant? Think again.
Yeah. Hide your kids, hide your wife.
Doesn't matter if you hide them, he will find a way. Zeus finds a way. But one of the things that I did really appreciate, and this is from like being interested in that religious angle, is that Milva believes in the gods. We don't know what the vibe is on like the religious levels of everyone in this situation, but it has been made clear that like being like having a spirituality does not mean you are blindly following what is being put in front of you by someone claiming to have the ear of some kind of god. Like Milva saying that she does in fact believe in the gods is making it clear that it's like, just because you believe doesn't mean you believe that this guy is right. And I think that that's really, I really value, and this is where I was made my note of like, promise not to go into massive tangent on Heretic, but the idea that people who believe in a religion are not stupid. And like that has been such a, especially on internet discourse about religion, like, oh, you're Sky Daddy sort of thing. Like that is not useful or helpful to make fun of people.
No.
And many religious people are very thoughtful and introspective and are not blindly following along. And that I thought was a really important thing that was actually put into this chapter.
Certainly, I think you see both sides to that, where people not only are following blindly, but you have these examples of where people clearly don't, and there's questions, and this doesn't seem right. Something about my moral compass is off. Like I don't want to believe this, and then you get that beautiful sense of spirituality where, like you said, there's a guidance, an inner guidance based on your upbringing, based on the beliefs that you grew up with, based on the religion that you were surrounded with, giving you your sense of morality and what's right and what's wrong, and trying to stick to those.
I think this chapter is an illustration that religion attracts all sorts, some with good intentions, and some people who want to live in a faith-filled way. And then you have people who use religion to get what they want and use it for nefarious means. It's really unfortunate that it does attract both kinds of people.
Mm-hmm.
And that like people will use religion for, to justify horrendous things like what we see in this chapter. But we also see that like it can give people a sense of course, like moral guidance, if that's what they choose to believe. And which I think is really nice, like that for some people, it gives them kind of a North Star for moral living, whatever that may mean to them.
Yeah.
I did have one thing that in that zone of like religious superstition and all of that, the fact that this is a disabled woman, like she has some kind of intellectual disability that has sort of been made clear. She's possibly got some kind of mental illness, and that is one of those things that comes up specifically since I do work in disability. Like was something that came up not that long ago where someone was talking about people being afraid of a 10-year-old because she has certain outbursts and like that people were genuinely, and that is the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, at a certain time, people would have just decided that she was possessed by the devil.
Yeah.
100%.
And like that, like having any kind of neurodivergence or mental illness has historically been something that has made someone a target for this kind of attack. And like, there's something not quite right about this person, and maybe this thing that is going wrong will be resolved if we get rid of this person. Like, you do have the peasant that Geralt talks to who says, yeah, she's just not quite right, but I don't think she's evil. Like, he says something along those lines, but like everyone is whipped into this frenzy. So,
well, again, I think it's like that one person or those like a handful of people can say stuff to the people next to them, but to voice that opinion like out loud, to be that brave, could ostracize or get you ostracized like completely.
Oh yeah.
And then where are you going to go, especially in this time, right? Like you leave the safety of this village where they're charging what, like 5 gold pieces for a pound of flour or something, like whatever it is, like those ridiculous prices.
If they successfully execute this woman, like the guy who said, I don't think that she's in league with a vampire, I just think that she's not very well, that's the next one that they're going after.
100%.
Like, if he says that too loudly, that is going to be the next thing. It's like, well, things are still going badly, so clearly we need to now go for this guy. And, like, there's no end to that. Yeah, there's no end to that mentality.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah. And it just, like, kicks that cycle of fear until, as you said, like, there is some sort of end or conclusion. These witch hunts could, in theory, go on.
Exit pursued by Nilfgaardians.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
That's how we resolve this. Like, runs through it like a train. Let's go.
Yeah.
Thank God for that greater evil.
Yeah.
Oh, the real problem showed up.
So because this discussion was split into 2 separate episodes, here's what you can look forward to in the next episode covering Andrzej Sapkowski's Baptisms of Fire, Chapter 4, Part 2. Oh my God, could you imagine, like, the workplace comedy of just the Nilfgaard cavalry following Geralt and his company the whole time? Just another day on the job.
The legend of the buffoons.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just imagining, like, Nilfgaard back at camp, and they're like, did you see what that dwarf did? Like, was I just dreaming?
I kid you not. I saw someone put a priest in a chokehold, and then someone else stuck a red-hot horseshoe down the front of his pants. Like,
not central to the plot, but one of them was filthy, and...
Yes.
Thanks for joining us at The Breakfast Table. For show notes, transcripts of each episode, and a complete list of our social platforms and listening services, head over to breakfastinbeauclair.com. Breakfast in Beauclair is created by Alyssa from Good Morn. It's hosted by Alyssa. The show is edited by Alyssa with music by Alex Berner. Breakfast in Beauclair is produced by Alyssa in New York City with Katie, the redhead of Toussaint, Jacob B., Charlotte from Vandenberg Glamry, the original Roach, Libby, John of Riblia, Tom from Australia, Jill Kate the Tabby Witch, Ollie from Sweden, James Carson III, Mia Ruth Maria, Softy, Lisa C., and Red Kite. Special thanks to Christian and Sophia for joining us for this episode, and our international Hansa for their support.